Western Journal, here's a Twitter, the headline. Twitter users notice a strange detail in photos of Biden at Camp David. That they are pics from before March 28th. At least, maybe. Are they? Let's get into this. On Sunday, after a week of successful seizures of dozens of provincial capitals across the country as U.S. forces began evacuating personnel from Kabul, militants marched into Kabul, installed themselves in the presidential palace as Afghan President Ashraf Ghani fled the nation and declared the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan has been established. On Monday morning, President Joe Biden was facing a slew of criticism for his administration's handling of the disaster. I'm sorry, that's really quite dishonest. Biden isn't facing anything, or at least he isn't certain he hadn't been on Sunday. While he's set to address the nation on Monday afternoon, his absence from the public eye has been very, very conspicuous. Now, as of yesterday, he did get a lot of interesting mixed reviews. So we're going to get into those tonight. Came from some interesting places, and once again, what is this all about? I don't know. It wasn't a mistake, though. This is not a mistake. It's not an intelligence failure. And we'll try to flesh out as many of our theories and thoughts and as much as we can and talk in this group therapy session of ours as we go throughout this evening's program. But here's what happened. Here's what we have. There's one more problem here. Now, he showed all these pictures of him hanging out alone. This is what it was. It's supposed to be his moment where he's making the tough decisions and he's getting all of the consultation that he needs and whatever. He's all alone in this room and he's at Camp David. Now, here's the problem that people started seeing. Even as Biden was slammed for his solo long-distance executive leadership from Camp David, sharp-eyed netizens noticed a small detail in the photos released by the White House that raised the question about whether they were even taken this week, these pictures. A conservative commentator, Kyle Becker, noted on Twitter and on his website there was a conspicuous anomaly on the clocks above the screen on which President Biden could see Vice President Kamala Harris and some of their top officials. There was a 3-hour difference between London and Moscow, which, because England observes daylight saving time, but Moscow does not, should not be the case in August. Either Camp David's clocks are wrong or the photos are from before March 28th, when London went ahead on daylight savings time, but Moscow didn't, Becker wrote on Twitter. This is fine, he added sarcastically. The Twitter account Aldous Huxley's Ghost noticed the conspicuous error as well. Said, "Hi, White House. Can you please explain why the clocks above the television show standard time rather than daylight savings time? Moscow will not be 3 hours different than London until November 7th, 2021. This isn't a pre-March picture that's photoshopped, is it?" The dystopian author's Spectre mused, tagging the White House Twitter account. Oh, what do you think? What do you know? Another bullshit depiction of a man who's really leading a shell of a life. You know what it's like? It's almost like with Star Wars. When George Lucas, you know, the greatest thing that George Lucas ever did was maintain the rights to all of the toys of Star Wars. He can go out there with the merchandising. And, of course, once you become an iconic character like Han Solo, Harrison Ford's face, his image and likeness, is used on everything. Dolls, comic book renditions, the expanded universe novels, all that stuff. It's not really Harrison Ford anymore. It's transcended Harrison Ford. It is Han Solo. But it's still an image and likeness that can be used by the franchise in any way that they're going to promote the story. That's exactly what Joe Biden is doing right now. He's just an image and likeness that can be photoshopped into and out of things to seem like he's actually doing something. I don't know. You know, I'll put it to you this way, since we're just talking about things now. In our high school and college band, we had a producer. It was our first producer that we ever had. We used to go to his studio, and he would help us put some songs together and all that. We were young. It's our first experiences in a studio, and it was a lot of fun. His name was Leslie Bloom, and we would go to his studio to record, and he was a bassist himself. And one time he was telling us a story about this band that he was recording around the same time who had a really bad bassist, a bassist that was so bad that he actually had to secretly, with permission of the bassist's bandmates, he had to secretly record the bass parts himself just so that he had something to work with in the studio. That's how bad he was. Now, the rest of the band knew about it, but like I said, they kept it from the bassist in order just to get the album done and move on and not spend too much time. That's, time is money in his studio. So I asked him, I said, Les, well, didn't he notice that it wasn't his bass playing? He said, honestly, he didn't notice anything. He was actually impressed with himself and how good the overall mix was. Just didn't even know. So I said, damn. I said, well, shit. That's incredible. And Les looked at me and said, Frank, you can't polish a turd. You can't polish a turd. And that's the story of Joe Biden. He is the turd that can't be polished, so they take every opportunity to just Photoshop and nip and tuck and limit his exposure time, just whatever they can, trying desperately to polish the turd. And maybe they have to bronze the turd first, and then you can polish it. Like, have you ever seen these things? They're hilarious. If you're older, you don't know them. But on the internet, for all of you youngins out there, you guys know those safe for work porn memes where people they would take these still frames from porn scenes and they would recreate them, the entire scene, inside of Microsoft Paint and Photoshop things into it to make it into something other than porn. Like, for example, they would take these chicks and they would make these chicks that are in the porno make it look like they are actually singing into microphones and playing the tuba instead of doing you-know-what. They're hilarious. Some of those are priceless. Safe for work porn images, whatever the hell they're called, SFW porn, they're so hilarious. Some of them are classic. That's pretty much what we're doing here. That's what we're essentially doing with Joe Biden's presidency. It's the safe for work editing of a president. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised right here that picture, that the original photo of Joe Biden is actually of him sitting at that table at Camp David eating a fruit cup by himself at lunchtime. He can't wait to drink the peach juice. I like drinking the peach juice. I bet you any money that's what it was. Eating by himself, having a fruit cup